Bigger, stronger. Is this promo for Rekka or motivation for the rest of us? I'm trying to make this a better place to work, and look at you. Showing off.
Is this an HR matter?
Figures you don't see it. You think this encourages them? Nah, it's just a reminder. You don't have what it takes. The workers here need to know they ain't ever getting out of that hole they dug themselves into. This world is sick, dark, sad.
But we are supposed to help.
Help? Impossible. We just mask the reality, give an illusion we care. We can't change anything. The cards are stacked too high against us. This poster stays. It says the truth.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 93 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I'm your host, Nick, and that's it. John's no longer on the show anymore after the events of last week.
This is Steve. I'm your new podcast host.
After the events of the last podcast, John, unfortunately, he's no longer on the team.
Yeah, I think I saw Nick garrote wire John just like he said he was going to when he came into work the next day. So you got me now. I have to stop. I can't. I have to stop.
No, John's still here. He's just on a probation period. So no, and any more ridiculous comments, we'll get him kicked off the show. So
well, I mean, I'm just gonna go right off the top, Nick. You're gonna bring up the podcast or the Twitter poll that you posted? You're not gonna bring that up?
No.
Okay.
Again, very small sample size, but I will admit it strongly went in John's direction.
It'll backfire.
On Twitter, I posted, even before the show had posted, that are people experiencing Star Wars fatigue, and it was going in John's direction. So
next week it's just going to be me. Nick is just going to go jump off a cliff.
Yep, that sounds about right. That's way more accurate. All right. But no, speaking of last week, we were talking about Fallout, the television show. John had only seen 30 minutes of it, so he had the most earliest of impressions. But you're watching more. I know you're watching more.
Yes.
Let's get an update. How far are you now? And now that you're as far as you are, what are your thoughts on the show?
I am just finished episode 6. It is an 8-episode season, so approaching the final 2 now. It is a good show. It's engaging and it's fun. If you're a fan of the games and the franchise, there's moments of a lot of enjoyment, right? It's fun to see power armor. It's fun to see vault tech and all that good stuff. I think Amazon is doing a better job than I thought they were going to with at least just like the way the world looks. I will say there's kind of, when I start to sit back and think about it, a very, very low amount of set pieces. I think it's just always either in a vault or kind of in a little bit of a town, like small enclosed area. Yep. So I think they kind of do a good job of at least maximizing those sets to the best of their abilities. Like the town that they were in, Philly, I believe, which is modeled after Nuketown. Not Nuketown. Megaton from 3. Looks really good, but what I'm finding myself kind of running into issues with the show is that the writing is not the best, and not from a dialogue moment-to-moment standpoint, but I don't know if I've ever come across a show where I've seen so many happy coincidences that are there to simply propel the plot forward. And while that might seem like, well, yeah, of course, John, the plot needs to go forward, I think better shows and better writing are able to disguise that stuff a little bit better and not just have, I'm going to have one small spoiler for the show. I think it's the end of episode 4. If you're very sensitive, maybe mute for the next 10 seconds. But like one of the dudes gets trapped in his power armor and they're like, no, don't leave me here. Like pulls the core out. He can't escape. He's going to die in the suit. And literally 15 seconds later in the show, the main character, the girl, stumbles across him, and in fairness, she's tracking something he has, but at this point, that thing is no longer there, and it's just a lot of these little things, and that's just one example of probably 10 I could rattle off now, where it's just like there's just simply too much convenience, coincidence,
Yeah, the characters outside of the vault, the 3 that we follow, are constantly getting pulled apart and pulled back into each other. Yeah. And you're right, the writing is pretty weak considering the wasteland is huge, and this is L.A., the West Coast. That is huge. You're losing that sense of scale when these characters, even if they are tracking something, you're not always going to intersect. If I'm tracking an item at the north side, but I'm coming from the west as opposed to them coming from the east, we're not going to run into each other.
No, and I know that this is probably a smaller viewpoint coming from me because not everybody likes the wilderness like I do, but I've camped and hiked through mountains, and dude, that shit is so mind-bogglingly big when you're in it, let alone viewing it from a far viewpoint. So it's little things like that, but I think the lead actress is doing a good job. Maximus is okay. I find that I don't typically like it in shows when they do have such segmented sections too, because inevitably you're going to probably enjoy one of them more than the other. And so when you're in the other one, you're kind of just wanting to get back to the other thing, the other character you might care about more. But I don't want to sound like I'm overly negative about it. It's good. If you like Fallout, it's worth a watch. But I will say, I've gotten some text messages. Nick and I are obviously known as the video game nerdy boys, probably in both of our circles, right? Our families, friends, things like that. So when these type of shows come out, The Last of Us was the same thing. We get text messages from our friends and things like that. And I got a decent amount of this show is better than The Last of Us type stuff. And that is so far from at least my truth. That they shouldn't really be in the same category.
Well, you're going to see it through. Is that?
I'm gonna see the last 2 episodes. So yeah, maybe we can pass judgment then. But I just think of the Frank and
the 3rd episode of the last.
Yeah, I think of that, and even though those were 2 characters that we only spent 1 episode with, the amount of growth and attachment that I had to them is leagues beyond anything that I have with Lucy.
It's a powerful episode that for all of TV, not just video game adaptations.
For sure. So maybe that's a bad example, but
no, I think it still stands. I think that's the high point. If people are going to make this direct comparison, you got to go, well, where is an episode that makes you feel like this episode does?
Or just even outside of that episode, the journey that these characters are on, just does it. It's not that I'm not invested in them. If they die, again, if this happens, please, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but if Maximus dies, I don't really care. And I don't really care about the ghoul's backstory. I don't care about his wife. Sorry. There's a lot of just little misses.
We'll see how you feel when the rest of this story's fleshed out and you see the conclusion.
Yeah. Because I already, listen, I played these games. I know the vaults are fucked up, right? So that's not that big of a surprise.
It's a big
for
plot
me.
point in this.
Yeah, and so it's a lot of that, but it's not bad. I think it's a well-made show. It honestly, if anything, it just gives me a little bit more confidence for God of War, being that that's attached to Amazon. Not that I still want that show to happen, but a little bit better. So I'm enjoying it, but I would tone down the crazy positive reviews that it seemed to have gotten when it landed.
Yeah, and since we've last talked, it has been renewed for season 2. And when that will be, we're probably looking at least a minimum of 2 years now with how these kind of shows are. It's just the production and scheduling and all that. It just seems like shows are not on a yearly basis anymore.
No,
not a lot of them.
Although I could see that, if I am accurate with my assumption, or at least my observation, that the set pieces are not as they do a good job doctoring those up. There's a possibility that they could maybe
late next year.
Maybe, I don't know, but
yeah.
So, am I mad watching it? No, but
I'm to be honest, I am surprised you're still going.
If I don't have anything else to watch,
right?
I'm at work, and we're slow here at work, so there's lots of downtime, and I just pop something on. So,
I can half focus on my work and have this on in the background.
Yep,
kind of show.
It's a good show for that, and it is not going to get me to go back and play Fallout. I don't think.
Yeah,
which is happening for a lot of people. So.
Yeah. That patch is out. And tomorrow, I think, as we're recording
this week.
So, and I saw Fallout 76's numbers They hit 1 million in a day.
Did they?
Yeah, people logged in. So yeah, the franchise is very popular right now. It will still be very interesting if we get any kind of Fallout news in June. But we'll see.
Well, yeah, Fallout news in like game fashion. You're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I know that. I think our boy Todd Howard, he said that Fallout 5 will happen after Elder Scrolls 6. Not to say there can't be a spin-off in New Vegas.
Yeah, I think the franchise is continuing, but it's like
it just takes so long.
It's so hot right now, and
yeah, it is. You're right. That's a weird.
And Bethesda is still working on DLC for Starfield. They've already announced Elder Scrolls 6, so one would presume that is the next game from them. Yeah, so you're looking at, unless they can farm it off to Obsidian again or another studio
to
do it. You're looking a long time for this franchise to get a new entry, but we'll see. Maybe there's some plans to have at least some synergy here as the show.
Yeah, it is a good point that these shows seem to coincide with synergistic advantages, and I don't.
And Fallout 76 is still out, and it's a live service game, so it is getting content. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know if
that might be where they go is.
For sure, and I don't know if they plan this patch to be out now specifically for this, but it's a franchise that doesn't need a lot of extra help to lift it up when people are clamoring for it. So
yeah, I'm just wondering if there'll be any news, but yeah, we'll know in 2 months.
Sure.
All right, so let's get into how the show works, because again, we have another 6 things to bring you. These 1-day delays seem to be leading to a very packed show. So let's get into how the show works. So John and I both bring up to 3 things to talk about for a total of 6 things. It can be a news item. It can be a video game we're playing. I got Hi-Fi Rush and Dave the Diver to talk about. It can be a topic. We're going to talk about death in video games. It can be news items, as I mentioned. We got Stellar Blade reviews. We got a Metaphor ReFantazio release date, one of my most anticipated games of the year. It can also be an email from you, the listener, at betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com, a Twitter DM. You can follow us on Twitter if you want to participate in any of our polls and our video game character battle royale. That's at JoysticksPod. Or finally, a comment on our YouTube page at Between the Joysticks. Any of those things, we bring it and we talk about it. So
that was smooth, Nick. That was a smooth one.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
I've been doing it a minute.
Yeah,
only 93 times.
Yeah. Well, it was better than your 92nd.
All right, let's get into the big news, John. Stellar Blade, one of your most anticipated games. I don't think you listed it, but
no.
Steam has been building, especially with all the comparisons to Nier Automata.
Yes. And
then the game is out this week. How you feeling about the reviews, John?
Feeling pretty good. Pretty good. So from Shift Up Games, this is a team that's been around for a while from Korea, but seems like they're really this is like their first big hitter, AAA. We're putting all of our resources behind it kind of game. So excited to play it. It's obviously a console exclusive for the PlayStation 5, but it's currently sitting on OpenCritic at 84 critic average with 91% of critics recommending. You see scores kind of all over in that 7 through 9 region, but I will say a lot more 8s and 9s than I'm seeing 7s. But that being said, IGN, obviously the biggest outlet in the world, did give it a 7, saying Stellar Blade is great in all of the most important ways for an action game, but dull characters, a lackluster story, and several frustrating elements of its RPG mechanics prevent it from soaring along with the best in the genre. Destructoid gave it an 8. So you're seeing a lot of people that I think find a lot of things that they love about it. It's just not your entirely 100% complete package that, a lot of the 9.5 kind of games get. But, I think anybody who was looking at this game from the get-go saw the obvious inspirations, the obvious comparisons that they're going for with the Devil May Cry's, the Bayonettas, Astral Chain even, those high octane action games. And I think, based on what I'm reading, we have another one. We have another one that's probably going to be around for a little bit. Obviously, it's different combat-wise, a little slower, a little more Souls-like.
Yeah, the direct comparison has been Sekiro.
Yes.
And I haven't played that game, but the combat is being described as very defensive, keeping an eye on enemy moves, which can be different colors, and the different colors to know, if you should dodge it, do this blink ability to go behind it, and then there's like another mechanic I didn't even see in the demo that is another way you can dodge. So it seems like Sekiro is the direct comparison, and
it's very reading your enemy's movements, reacting in a quick manner. But I think there are a lot of people though that do look at it and just see the heavy character focus protagonist, that they're going to make those Devil May Cry comparisons. I would think for sure. But so happy to see it sitting at an 84. Now the question kind of remains: do I put down Rebirth to pick this up and get through it to try and capitalize on the zeitgeist? And I kind of want to.
Okay.
I kind of want to. I mean, I was talking to Nick this morning, and this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but I'm still very much enjoying Rebirth. We're not talking about it today, but I am just coming up against the same thing that continues to happen to me since probably Cyberpunk is the first time I can really pinpoint it, where it's just these giant open world games. After about 10 to 15 hours, I kind of just go, I don't have another 70 play sessions in me of 45-minute chunks, and where I start to just kind of go, it doesn't matter, just do the main mission. So still enjoying it though. But anyway, that all to say that I might have this game by Monday, Nick. Especially
it is being clocked in at about 30 hours.
That's meatier than I would have thought.
Yeah, but much more digestible than a JRPG. So,
and it's also, I'm a Souls guy, so it's going to hit on that front too. But a couple other things that I'm seeing a lot of glowing praise about, which, for me, it's not a surprise, but some people it might be. The music is apparently absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. They had a lot of work or a lot of collaboration with the gentleman who did Nier Automata soundtrack, Keiichi. I really should know this off the top of my head. I think Okabe is his name. And
you say that every time.
I know. Well,
Yeah, I know.
Japanese names are hard. All right, they're just hard. A lot of music from him, and you can see the obvious inspirations. And Nick, is this something you think you'll get, or is this I'll wait till you tell me about it and maybe borrow it from you?
Definitely the borrow part.
Yeah,
that is 100%. If you get it and you're like, okay, Nick, this is something you should play this year. It is very different than the glut of JRPGs we've been getting. We'll talk about another one being added this year that I'm getting a little like a little burned out.
Give me something Western. Give me The Witcher 4. Yeah. That's what I want right now. Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. Grand Theft Auto 6. But yeah, I don't know. Everything about it sounds pretty good. I mean, even the IGN review where they gave it a 7, their biggest pet peeve was kind of the character development in the story in the first half of the game, and they said it was much better in the second half. And then their other complaint was the lack of a new game plus, and your one and only save file got you stuck right at the final boss, and that's the only thing you could do. So if you wanted to go clean up more quests, unlock more fun outfits for Eve, you weren't able to do so. But then that was already addressed. It's
already patched.
It's going to get a day one patch that is going to address that issue. So I'm surprised the IGN review is as low as it is, especially when they praise the combat. They praise these open world sections that I guess there's 2 very large open world sections that are full of things to collect and secret boss encounters and stuff like that. And it also said the boss fights are something else in this game. Like they're just on that level of a From Software game as far as scale and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah. So I think if John comes away from it, it's like, yeah, you have to play this game. It's one of my favorite games of the year. Then, I would at least give it a shot. I'd give it a shot.
Yeah. So happy to report. It's always nice when a new franchise hits the ground running, and it doesn't. There's a lot of examples of games getting it right on the 2, right? Assassin's Creed 2, Watch Dogs 2. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So it's nice that we hit the ground running. They can build off of it. Obviously, we'll know more when we play it. But
yeah, this is going to probably be this year's Lies of P.
Yeah.
But probably has a better chance than Lies of P. Granted, Lies of P was on more platforms, but that this game will be in that same kind of discussion. And thankfully, as of right now, it's kind of having the month to itself.
Yeah.
Next month, not very busy. that hopefully it can have a long tail here and, as you said, be a new franchise.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, so far, and just kind of the other, elephant in the room. So far, I haven't seen many articles or anything calling about sexualization, over crazy amounts of sexualization or any of that.
So,
there's a little bit of it.
So the IGN review did touch on it.
Yeah.
They said it swings both ways. She has obviously very skimpy outfits, but she has also some pretty badass outfits that
just let people be.
The IGN reviewer's wife commented on it, that she looks like an insta badass.
Oh, really?
So
that's why I say just let people enjoy it. It's not like they're I don't know, doing very inappropriate things here. So, but I want to just end here with one of my favorite reviews of the game. I thought this was funny. It made me chuckle. Stellar Blade offers a fast-paced action combat system in a unique world with a rewarding narrative. It's not quite stellar, but it's certainly solid, period. Solid Blade. I just like the idea. Solid Blade.
Yeah, that seems it, and that's where the reviews are falling.
That is from Stephen Mills at Destructoid. Thank you, Stephen. But yeah, that's all I got for Stellar Blade.
All right, yeah, we'll see.
Yep.
Maybe next week we'll have some impressions from John here.
Yep. Maybe you'll see a lot of pictures of Eve around my desk in her beautiful outfits. No, you won't do that.
All right. Let's move on to the other big news item of the week.
Boom. All right. So, attached to any conference, not attached to any event happening, but Atlas gave us a big old meaty deep dive into their upcoming open world RPG later this year, Metaphor ReFantazio. And we'll start off, they gave us a date.
They did.
They gave us a date. Nick, what's the date?
It is October 11th. Again, that shadow, that fog of war lifting for more and more titles for the second half of the year. And, as I mentioned, getting a little burned out on JRPGs, but maybe by October I'll feel differently. But right now I think it's the only game announced for October, so good month for them.
Yeah. So, this is a game that's been in development for a long time. Atlas, known mostly for their Persona series that has really exploded in the West since. Really, 5 was the one that exploded it, but 4 even started to gain a lot of traction. A lot of people think that that's one of the best Vita games out there with Persona 4 Golden. So, hotly anticipated release, brand new franchise from this team, and taking a different approach than they're used to doing. And right from the get-go, right from the moment this video started, I go, yep, this is the Persona team. Immediately, right? The art style is going to look the same. A lot of the characters look kind of that same type of Persona art style. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, it's the same artist.
Yeah, all that same stuff.
A lot of the big names are back from Persona 5 for this game.
Yep. You're going to get your ultra stylized menus that look beautiful. You're going to get there was a lot of attention you could tell towards the music. That's honestly probably one of my biggest takeaway from this entire thing was that the music was absolutely great. It's the same composer who I guess worked on Persona 3, 4, and 5, but he was asked
Shoji Meguro.
I'll just let you say it. You said it. But the director of the game kind of tasked him with making it not be so poppy, right? That's what Persona is known for. So obviously trying to develop...
No Lin?
No, let's not say no Lin. Yeah, there's probably some Lin. All right, there better be some Lin. But... you can definitely tell they're trying their best to separate these franchises while maintaining a lot of the same similarities, which is cool. So much so that there's fucking a character that in your party that looks like a bunny bat, right? And so, it's like a Morgana type character. But, they went into a lot of different aspects, right? A lot of the moment-to-moment gameplay. I'm not going to go through all of that individually, right?
Yeah.
If you are,
it was a 30-minute deep dive.
It was a 30-minute deep dive, absolutely. So if this is a game that you are interested in, if you like the Persona series, if you like JRPGs, I would encourage you to watch it to get a lot of that information yourself. But what I can tell you is there is this hybrid-looking combat system, which is something we knew about a little bit. We got to see it in action where... at first, I was kind of on the fence about it, but the more the video went on, I kind of dig it because I think anybody who's played a lot of JRPGs knows, especially later on in the game, you're going to run across a lot of low-level enemies that you just go into the battle, hit X a couple times, exit out of the battle. Mm-hmm. So what they look to be doing is trying to keep those type of enemies in a more action, fast-paced type gameplay system, right, where you're actually hitting a button to slash your sword. It's more real-time things where...
It's like a hybrid, like JRPG. You got your action RPG... and then your turn-based RPG, but
Well, it's kind of like
No.
what Rebirth is doing in just kind of a different type
Yeah.
of way.
Yeah.
You know, so where you kind of have a little bit more agency, but what this is doing is it's kind of making that determination for you on what you're going to do or how you're going to engage, right? I mean, if the game's going to be like, no, this enemy's too high level, you're going into a more traditional turn-based, almost exactly looking like Persona type system.
Yeah, it really does.
So that was kind of cool, you know, and something that allows them to play around with it a little bit more. It's a RPG through and through. You know, you got your menus, your strength, magic, endurance, agility, luck, all of those exact type of stats you would be used to seeing. And then in another way that it does kind of lend itself to the Persona structure, it looks like each character also has an archetype. And what I think that kind of equates to is in Persona, different relationships that you have with different characters are going to enhance an archetype which is attached to a specific persona, correct? And then that allows you to level up those characters to tailor kind of the way that you want to fight. And this seems to be doing a lot of the same kind of thing. You're going to meet characters who are labeled as followers. You can then learn probably a new type of fight style or archetype, however you want to explain it. Lets you kind of modify your combat in that way. Game also has a very, in true Persona way, day and time system. Mm-hmm. And
yep.
this is where so let me take a step back. We'll go right into this. This whole presentation, if it moved the needle for me, I think, Nick, it moved it maybe a little backwards. I don't know
Sure.
how you feel about that. And why I think that is not from a quality standpoint. It's not from I think this game is going to have a great story, incredibly strong characters. That's what Persona is known for. But it's a cross-gen game, first and foremost. Mm-hmm. Looks kind of poopy in a lot of ways. And I don't think this game's going to respect your time very well.
No.
I'm really worried about that, where there's a lot of cool things they're doing. In this entire presentation, they probably said your journey 45 times. They were so focused on, like, when you travel with your companions, when you go on a journey, we want you to feel like you're on a journey. And that's cool. Sometimes. So much so, they want you to feel like a journey where when you're fast traveling on your ship, you have to equate or factor in the time that it's going to travel to get to that place.
Yep.
And while that might allow, I don't know, a more nuanced approach to a narrative or something, it's going to allow, like, oh, this event only happens at this time and stuff. That just adds a level of stress and convolution that I don't need.
Yeah, we've talked
this
about this
day
with
and age,
the
man.
Persona series as well, is the managing every day at school. Who do I talk to? Who do I want to hang out with? Do I want to take tests? Do I want to read books? Do I want to... Yeah, just managing your day to day and not knowing if you're doing it correctly. You know, and that game had a time mechanic where you had to do a mind palace under a certain amount of days, you know? So, yeah, it's a little much. I agree with you. I don't...
Yeah, I was a little
system
disappointed
upon
with that.
system upon system, and then factoring in time and FOMO and stuff like that. This game and this presentation, as you mentioned, when they move the needle back, it's like, yeah, this game is intimidating. This whole presentation is very intimidating, and I understand you coming from that, with that point of view on this, because I feel the same way. I think it's one of those games, and probably you just play it and it's fine, and you'll get used to it, just like Persona 5. But I can see someone watching this and be like, how do you keep track of all of these systems?
It's just a mechanic that I'm not quite sure what their development team feels that brings to the game. Like, just a sense of urgency makes every decision feel more impactful. I get it, but like, maybe it's just a me problem. But
no, we keep bringing it up. Scope, you know, like
Yeah.
games are too big. Not a lot of people have the time to put into. You know, this will probably be like the 5th 80+ hour JRPG of the year.
Oh, easy.
And it's like,
Yeah.
how are you? Yeah, if not more. How can you fit all the time to play these games? And on top of everything else that will be out, you know, that's demanding your time. And
I want to know how much of the push into the gloat? That's not bloat. Thank you, bloat. How much of the bloat in a lot of these open world games is just from technology progressing and companies wanting to incorporate their ideas versus, oh, everything is a time commitment now. If we want to compete with the Fortnites and the Minecrafts and the Roblox, we have to have a product that is just so overwhelming that like they can't put it down. I don't know. I mean, we'll never know an answer.
It's the audience for sure. I mean, JRPG audience is used. I mean, this is a staple of the genre is the the amount of hours it takes and how convoluted the systems are. But yeah, like I said, in a year like this year, like will people be ready by the time this game comes out? And it doesn't have we know it's Persona, but will other people?
Yeah, I don't think this game's going to struggle. I think it's going to review above a 90. It's going to be those fans. They're going to love it, but I think it will struggle a little bit out of the gate sales wise. I think
being on PS4 is going to help it a lot.
Great point. Never mind. Great point. That's something I honestly didn't even think about till Nick brought it up earlier today too. He's like, I think it's cross-gen. I'm like, no, we don't do that anymore. But yeah, you
were commenting on how it looked, and I'm like, well, I think
it just looks so muddy. But yeah, maybe that's where I'll kind of leave it. Is that I got a lot of I have no doubts that this game's going to be great, that these characters are going to be fleshed out, that lots of moments are going to be impactful. But it seemed very last gen. Like, there was a specific moment they also I thought it was weird to highlight it when they were walking around some of the towns. They're like, you'll notice some people cowering in the streets because this world has a large gap between rich and poor. And what they showed was 3 NPCs just laying on the ground like homeless people.
Right.
And it's like, that's nothing you need to, you don't need to flaunt that. Like,
right.
I don't know. It just seems like this game is it's just a lot of ways in the past.
Traditional.
And that's fine. And it's going to be great. But, I wouldn't expect this to move the genre forward really or anything like that. But
yeah, we'll see. I mean,
it's got some cool stuff. Like when the ship was moving, like when they went out onto the balcony while the ship was fast traveling, I was like, that's pretty cool. Like the whole world is just zooming past you, like so like that's all getting loaded in. That's pretty cool. But like, why is a washing machine an interactable item, Nick? Why on my ship, which is now acting as the free time base, do I have even the option to hit washing machine? I just not for me, I guess. But look forward to it on October 11th from Atlas Games.
Okay, we'll see. The pedigree's there. Yeah,
it's going to be.
Can they create a new franchises? Yeah, that we'll see. But
it's going to be good. It's going to come out. People are going to love it, and then people are immediately go, "Yeah, I like this, but where's Persona 6?"
Or the Royal version of this game.
Did you see that they did a Royal version for that latest Shin Megami Tensei game, and how much content it added?
No,
it added 75 hours. Like, what are you doing? Stop it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the takeaway is the audience seems to want this, and maybe John and I are just in the minority here.
Yeah, we're trying to live our lives and not just only play video games.
Yeah, it's been hard. There's been so many good games repeatedly, continuing from last year, continuing on this year. That it's if I play the JRPGs I own right now, this will be my 4th one this year if I plan on getting it. And it's like, wow, that's...
Do you want to borrow Tales of Arise?
No.
You sure?
Not a chance. I can't do it. I can do it.
Good.
So we got to be very picky with our time, and that's going to lead us into our next topic, which is a video game I've been playing. I want to finish the discussion on Hi-Fi Rush. I did my early impressions last time we touched upon it. Mm-hmm. Again, first time on PlayStation. This is, from Tango Gameworks / Bethesda / Microsoft. One of the best reviewed games of last year, 89 on OpenCritic.
Nick gives it a 5 out of 5. The next game we're going to talk about is Dave the Diver.
What happened with me in this game is I got to a point where I don't want to finish it. I'm just not feeling it to the point where I feel like finishing it, and we'll get into that. But before we get into the negative, I will say, the art and the music, the thing it's been winning at all these game awards and and whatnot. BAFTA, I think it won Best Animation.
Yeah.
That is all there and is incredible. This is a very visually stimulating game that all moves around with the music, and I think the game never takes itself seriously, and I do think a good chunk of that humor lands. The HR investigator robot. He's one of my favorite characters. There's this robot that's out of like 1920s noir that kind of like is. You could just find him randomly in the world, and he's looking over some kind of like HR incident, like an oil spill or something that caused robots to hurt themselves. But he has this that noir bleakness when he talks about it, which is just a great. With the world being so colorful and lively, that to have this guy just being like the Debbie Downer of
that guy, right?
Yeah. Of the world is great. But other than that, the game, the writing just falls flat for me mostly. I think Chai, your main character, is just a goofball throughout, never taking the game seriously, and he's right from he's Miles Morales from the Spider-Verse movies, and the cast of characters that surround him are the same cast of characters from the Spider-Verse movies. Peppermint is a 1-to-1 Gwen Stacy, and all the other characters that you get in the game and become these like characters that you can bring into combat. They all fit those other personas.
Yeah, reminded me of, that's a very good comparison. I always did you see Big Hero 6?
Yes.
I always reminded me of the Big Hero 6 crew for some reason.
Yeah, and then the same for the villains is that you don't take them too seriously. They all fit an archetype. Let's get to the game itself. While the world is very beautiful and moving, the way your character moves is very stiff. And when this is a third-person platformer / third-person action game, the stiffness just never feels great. Going across a bunch of platforms to get to your next combat encounter, the game's very linear. It just never feels great. I'm never confident in my jumping.
Yeah.
And I think it's because your character jumps up 10 feet, but only moves 2 feet forward. And I hate that in video games.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's funny. You I knew you didn't like the platforming, which I will push back on a little bit because I don't think that's really what the game is wanting you to really enjoy about it, but that's fine. It's a valid complaint, but the whole time it's
very minimalistic. I understand that it's just the.
But yeah, it's the moment to moment. Like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like, right. It adds up. But when you just said that, like jumping up and moving forward 2 feet. Yeah, I do remember that. Now that was kind of annoying, but I guess it didn't get to me as much as it got to you. But that's right.
Yeah, the game's not very long, so I think a lot of people probably can deal with these shortcomings to get through and see the story through. But that obviously did not work for me. And then my final comment, that stiffness is into the combat as well, with your character, not moving very well. Even the dash feels just stiff. Like you dash in this game and you just come out of it and you feel like I just skipped a rock. Now I'm just a rock sitting here, and there's no third person lock on, which is frustrating. So when the map starts filling up with enemies, and then when you're calling in these assist moves, every character you meet becomes an assist move, and they have cooldown, so you can call one, switch to another one, call another one. It just gets a little too chaotic, and during this chaos, you're supposed to be timing your hits, making sure that you're timing your attacks with the beat. And the game is very forgiving about that, but it's also grading you on that at the same time. So, constantly doing these things and just doing so well at everything else, but timing with the beat, I was just like, I just want to get through combat encounters now.
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying this either. So when you're the loop here, the story element into the platforming elements into a combat encounter, rinse and repeat. When that loop was suffering at every angle for me, I was like, there's just other games to play and not this one.
I came into this ready to kind of get mad at you, but you make a lot of solid points for you. So My first question would be, what is your rhythm game history? Like, do you enjoy them, or is it usually something that is kind of whatever?
I can enjoy them in very small quantities. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's piano. We'll get into Dave the Diver, but Dave the Diver has a dream sequence that is a rhythm game. I will enjoy them in those small, like, let's vary up the gameplay, do something a little different.
But not when it's the main driver.
Not when it's the main driver, no.
So no Guitar Hero, Rock Band, any of that
Nope,
for you?
I never got into any of those
DDR.
games. Those were at a lot of parties
No
when I was
Beat Saber.
a lot of parties when I was younger, and I did not participate.
Fair. Okay. Well, that's fair, and that maybe is the answer. I love all of those things I just mentioned. I even would play. There's a DDR knockoff called Flash Revolution that you would use the arrow keys on. I would do that. I would do that with two hands. So that's fair. I can't really fault you.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering what's the deal with, like, the review. It reviewed very well, and I wonder how much that has to do with, the lack of exclusives on Xbox. The last game before this one, it came out in January of 2023. I think the last exclusive was Halo Infinite of fall of 2022.
Yeah.
So you're talking a whole drought year. 2021, sorry. So 2022 was a whole drought year for Xbox.
Yeah.
And then they get this shadow drop, and it's like, oh my God, yes, we have a game and it looks great, and kind of bumped up the reviews.
I think there might be a slight bump. I will say I would grade it a 9 out of 10 personally. So, like, on that front, I think it's in the ballpark. But I will say it makes sense. If you get somebody who works for Xbox era and, like, yes, I got one I can review and I can be positive about something, I can see that factoring in a little bit.
And yeah, like I said, I think it's just the thing, just the momentum right then and there, right? Like, this game's out now, people are playing it, that brings its own excitement, and and there's reviewing in the moment, Yeah. So
I will say, and this is what everybody always says when people like something and the other person didn't finish it or doesn't like it. You didn't get to the best part of the game, right? Like, there was moments later in that game that were, like, the ones that I think of immediately when I think of that game that make it, like, kind of elevated. I personally liked Chai, and it's interesting, and we're not going to get into it, but, like, I liked him more than a lot of MCU characters, and that's why I find it especially interesting too, because, like, I feel like based on your comparisons, these are MCU type people, but he was just a little too goofballish for you, or
okay, yeah, whatever it was, it just wasn't. His aloofness was not landing with me.
Okay.
And to be fair, I'm not a big fan of MCU characters that are like that as well.
Sure, you prefer that's true. You like Civil War, or not?
Right.
Sorry, Winter Soldier, and that stuff.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, by no means, I think it's on sale right now for $21. It's at that price. You could decide yourself, or just wait.
So in the history of the PlayStation Pal / Between the Joysticks, Cyberpunk and Hi-Fi Rush are the two biggest disagreements. Maybe Hollow Knight. Well, I guess if you exclude all the fucking Soulsborne games or Souls games. That's kind of inherently.
Well, let's just say, like, games we've both played.
Yeah. Nick's dying. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
He's dead.
Sorry for my coughing. Games that we both played. Yeah, this is one of them. There's not very many. Cyberpunk is the other one.
Yeah. Maybe Star Wars. But, like, that was more. It's a good game.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor.
I just didn't. That's just me being sticky or stupid. But anyway, bring up the mood, Nick. Let's go. Come on. That's the one I want to talk about.
All right. Yeah, let's bring up the mood. So, Dave the Diver is now out on PlayStation, and you heard John's praises for the game last year, but who cares what he thinks?
He's got bad taste.
Yeah, he's got bad taste. He doesn't like Star Wars, so let's let the big potato, review the game here, so
hey, small potatoes are more tender and tasty.
okay. And Dave the Diver again, last year, one of the best reviewed games of the year, 90 on OpenCritic. took a little bit of a little bit of a controversy about the game because it was considered for best indie game, best debut indie game, and it is made by Mint Rocket, who is just a division of Nexon Korea. Yeah. So they're not a true indie. They're just a small team within a big fish making video games. And I
just picture like some dumb comic book where there's a bunch of like gross kind of like maybe some ragged clothing, like we're the indies, and then like this guy with like a shiny suit walks in and he goes, "Me too," and it's Dave the Diver. And it's like, "No, you're not in it. Get out of here."
But and then the final setup here is, I instantly declared Final Fantasy VII Rebirth my game of the year, and that it would be hard to beat. And then not a month later, this fucking game comes out, and that's the kind of level I am enjoying. This game is game of the year level game, and
music to my ears.
And which made me I don't know if you know much of the history of this game, John. Do you know it was initially announced as a mobile game?
No, gross. Gross.
And it was going to be in collaboration with National Geographic. They were going to have a partnership there.
That's cool. I wish that was a bigger piece, but okay.
Yeah, and with the whole point of the game bringing, awareness to just the beauty that's in the ocean, and we'll definitely touch on that because I think it does a great job of that. But yeah, then it became a Mint Rocket game, and it's based on a real life island. Did you know that?
I know.
It's Jeju Island, Jeju, which is an island off of South Korea. And it's instantly like, man, I got to go to that island now.
This is a small little island, dude.
This is what this game was based on, because on that island there was a restaurant. Be a
fucking sushi. Okay, good.
Where the guy would dive during the day and serve his sushi at night. So you were getting just live caught fish that day, and
that was great.
I'd love to go to that restaurant.
Yeah,
Holy
this place
cow,
looks dope, dude.
So that's leading into the game, and I know John has previously talked about it, so I don't really need to go too much into it. But yeah, the loop is during the day you go and catch fish, and then at night you manage a sushi restaurant, including the menu, the staff, and then it's like a kind of a mini game in itself to serve the patrons of that sushi restaurant. And not only is that loop great, but it does a great job of always introducing new things. Like I did a Metal Gear Solid stealth sequence in the game, and it's like the game over screen was a Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, that's when you go on land and you're walking, right? Yeah.
Or they have a Tamagotchi mini game that I just unlocked. I haven't even done anything with it, but you farm crops. You're going through villages and taking quests. There's just so much to do that mixes up that general loop. But man, is that general loop so good? They really didn't need to do anything.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. It is the game that keeps on giving.
yeah.
Until the very end of the game. Right. You'll be in chapter 7. I think there's 7 or 8 chapters, and it throws in a brand new thing. Like,
sure, yeah, and you did say that.
Yeah.
But from the art style to the character design, I was telling John, I'm like, I'm glad that a game features a fat main character. Like Dave is just Dave's
a homie, dude. He's just a dude.
He's just a dude that loves fish and loves the ocean, and when you're on these dives, you just run into the weird. They're scripted, but they're quests to deal with a baby humpback whale or a pink dolphin, and they're just all feel good. This game is just full of feel good vibes throughout it. And the other thing is with all these fish and animals based on real life, there are mystical creatures in this that are not real, but like you're learning so much, and I appreciate a game that's like I want to learn about things outside of the game as well. I was showing I had to send John a link about the Opa, which is the world's only warm-blooded fish.
Yeah, that's wild.
I sent him a National Geographic Island, our National Geographic article about this fish, and I was like, this is in the game, and they discuss it, and that I had to look it up. Like I was like, what the fuck fish is this?
Do you think it's delicious?
Probably. It's not a catchable fish, so I don't know if it is a fish that you eat that has been eaten before, or is considered, a fish, an edible fish. But there's so many. There's so many fish in this. Like, I was just looking up, like, because I was catching so many seahorses. I was like, how many seahorses are there in the world? And it was like 46. I'm like, fucking, the Earth is crazy.
It is, dude. The Earth is crazy, and the ocean is especially crazy. Ocean's fucked up, dude.
And
there's fish with human teeth.
And to just the learning of all the new mechanics is just the deeper you go, the more crazier fish that you see, again, that are based on real life fish. And it's just this constant, and we talk about perfect games, games where like just everything is on fire, just everything's hitting. Like, what is a negative of this game? I would struggle to tell you one.
The main narrative is pretty whatever, but like but like that's fine. This game,
it's about a bunch of bite-sized narratives for the most part. There is a overarching main plot, but for the most part, it's about these smaller stories that you get into, and then pleasing these mystery guests that are special guests that come to your
best part of the game.
Come to your sushi restaurant, which give you the best cutscenes in the game. I'll have to tweet one out.
In the biz, dude.
I'll have to tweet one out because they're just they're so great and so silly, and the humor in this game.
And they're all like,
unlike Hi-Fi Rush, is just constantly landing, and it's just I don't have a negative thing to say about the package. It's just perfect.
Yeah, and as somebody who loved it, played it, it's been hard resisting, especially playing Rebirth, not just wanting to go back in, dive a little bit. And of course I have, but did a great job with the DualSense features. That was kind of something missing with playing it on a little tiny shitty Switch, right? Yeah. That pulling that trigger and feeling the tension is nice. Yeah. But yeah, it's a game, when you think about it, it's almost hard to talk about, because while you were explaining, I was like, oh yeah, but you didn't mention this, but you didn't mention this. Because there's so much. It's like, I like chill video games, but I also like leveling up my guns, and you do that in this game too. And I like exploring and catching things, but I also like stumbling across chests and seeing what's in the chest, and you get that too. And like, you're gonna get attachment to your harpoon that puts fish to sleep, and when you capture fish that are asleep, you get 3 stars as opposed to 1 star, which nets you more fish to serve in your restaurant. And everything is just so in service of one another. It really is.
Yeah, probably the only really complaint is it'll get busy very quickly at some moments, where it's like, oh, here's your fish farm and your regular farm, and now you just don't craft guns. All your guns have upgrades, and every gun has 4 different upgrades, and you unlock this village later on, and that village all of a sudden will have 5 quests for you,
and that has a farm in and of itself that grows algae, and then it's like, and then there's seahorse races, and it's like, dude, like, I can't be everywhere at once. So I want to be.
Yeah, at some point you're like your gamer completionist level gets really like high, like in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where there's just too much. You're taking on a lot at once, and you're just like, I don't know what direction. These kids said this whale swallowed their ball. I can go there. But this other person says they're looking for a sea turtle, and he's eating jellyfish. So look for dead jellyfish in the sea. And you're like, okay, all right.
But it does such a good job of making all that stuff, unlike Persona, be like, I'll get to it. It's fine.
Right.
It never rushes you. It never, you're on a day-to-day schedule, but that doesn't really fucking matter.
No. So, it only really matters when you get those specialty guests, or if there's like a festival, like there's a tuna festival, so a bunch of tuna people are coming in, so you're kind of driven to catch more tuna and have more tuna dishes.
I was very happy when the tuna showed up. I was like, ooh, you guys are worth a lot of money.
Yeah. But again, those are just the money-making opportunities, and I assume if you fail one of these special VIP guests that they come back.
I'm sure. Yeah, I didn't even, I think, get close to missing one.
Right. And then the requirements are so simple that it's like, if you have to be intentionally trying to fuck this up. But but no, it's just, it's on PlayStation Plus Extra.
Very good move. Like, honestly, it wasn't necessary for the game, but it warms my heart that the use, and just so many people are going to give it a shot that wouldn't have otherwise.
And it's only $20 without
Yep.
without it, so it's like this is getting the highest of recommendations from me. It's the only game I really want to play right now. I'm not playing Helldivers anymore.
Yeah.
Not playing Hi-Fi Rush. It's like I come home, I'll put an hour or two into this game.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say as well, being that it was 5% of my pie, did a great job with the trophy list. That was something that I was honestly more concerned with than I should have been when I knew it was coming to PlayStation, because they had one of two ways they could have done it. You have to capture every single 3-star captures every single fish, and fuck that,
Right.
because you don't know where these fish are going to be. But it does the approach of like catch 25 different of these, and
You looked at all of them, even the hidden ones?
I think so. Nothing popped out of crazy.
Because there's just mechanics I don't know of yet.
Yeah. None of that.
That are at the game just came out, so they're at a low percentage so far they've been pretty. There has nothing that I can tell from the mechanics.
So there is one missable trophy. Did you know that? It's in chapter 6.
Is it the ration one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that one.
Okay, cool.
I thought about that one when I got it, because I was like, oh, is there other missable trophies?
Yeah.
Because it's like,
It's just that one, and it says you really need to focus, similar to Cyberpunk, if you're going for the platinum, focus on money. Like keeping a lot of money, because you need to level up a employee to level 20, I think.
yes, you do. Yep.
So.
Yep. And that's, yeah.
Eventually, I don't know if you've gotten this employee. I eventually had a raptor,
I've seen the screenshot of him.
Yeah, he was my server. He was great.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
No. Yeah, the servers are great. I have a ninja server.
You keeping up with the wasabi? Making sure you got wasabi?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you got beer yet?
Yep, I got beer.
I never figured out how to serve beer right. It was weird.
You gotta.
I think I just let my waiters deal with. Like I would just do green tea and serve dishes, and then they would always get the beer.
Right.
And I was like,
right.
okay, that works for me.
Right. Yeah, it's just great vibes all around. Great
Vibes, dude. It is vibes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic video game, and I won't review it just yet, but just know that it has the highest recommendation here. It's
trending.
With the plan to beat it and ultimately platinum it. So
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely it's just a pleasant surprise. John is the indie game guy on the show, and so he's playing a lot more and he'll recommend a lot more, but not every one of them hits with me like this, and this one is definitely like on the level of Hades and Neon White. That is just.
I was nervous about it. I thought there was a chance that you'd jump into it and you'd be like, dude, I don't want to go fish anymore. Like, whatever.
No,
but
not happening.
Awesome. Yeah,
Fair.
I think I placed it 3rd last year, only behind Neon White and Elden Ring. So like, pretty good.
Yeah. That's some good competition there. Yeah. All right, moving on to our.
And honestly, those games didn't even come out that year. So really, that was my.
True. Yeah, I didn't know Dave the Diver was early access as well before it came out. So.
Everything is now.
Seems to be a good way to these games that sit in early access for a little bit come out pretty perfect.
Yeah.
When they finally do release. So, all right. So let's move on to our next topic: death in video games. As I mentioned last week,
it's a roller coaster this episode, folks.
I had to experience the death of my dog, and so I was just on your mind, and again, we play video games. It's an intrinsic mechanic of video games. It's the fail state for nearly every video game is the end of your character. So I just wanted to cover just a couple games, and they're dealing with death. But before we get to those, we can talk about the mechanic, because John, your favorite series, the Soul series, is just kind of built around death.
Die again.
Do you think it is weird how prevalent of a fail state that is in video games, that death is that's it?
That's a good question. I mean, inherently, to define something as a game, you have a win state and a loss state.
Yep.
And if you're a person or a being, which oftentimes we are, you either fail your task or you die. And so I think it's just It's just an easy and inherently most games are violent in some nature. It's,
Yeah.
you have your Animal Crossings. I imagine you can't die in Animal Crossing. I bet you, if anything, you probably just lose followers or something. But so yeah, I mean, inherently games are win-loss states. Aggressive, violent, however you want to say it. Even games that aren't violent, like Sonic, you're still jumping on heads, right? Like you're gonna die. You're hitting spikes. You're running into flames. So, yeah, it's just something we've all kind of learned to accept over 40 years, I think.
Right.
Even in Pong, your fucking paddle dies.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just an easy mechanic to imitate, because of the nature of video games. So it makes sense that fail state equals death. Your character is gone. But thankfully in video games you have extra lives, because that's not the case in the real world. But
wasn't that an interesting transition when we ditched lives? When did that happen? That was kind of PS2 to PS3.
Yeah.
PS1 to PS2, every game we played as kids, lives and a score.
Yeah,
That's just
especially
funny.
the NES, SNES,
Yes.
8-bit, 16-bit era. It was all about getting lives, and the real fail state was running out of those.
That's why it was weird playing through Mario Wonder, because it still has lives, and I think I ended the game with 58 lives.
Yeah.
Just what is the point?
Yeah, really. Because of nostalgia, probably.
Yeah.
Because of those old school games.
So I can get a 1-up mushroom.
Yeah, exactly. But let's talk about games that use it as a topic of motivation. I looked at a kind of a list online of those games, and I have not played nearly close to them. A lot of them are indie games. But when you think of death as a topic or a main plot point in video games outside of your fail state, what games do you think about?
One of the first ones that probably pops to my head is Hades.
Okay.
It's obviously
Yeah.
the loop in and of itself. You're dying, coming back into hell, and trying to escape it to see your mother. And so, there's just a lot of kind of trappings of death with that. I think of the Shadow of Mordor and War series. While it's not a narrative plot point, dying does, especially to the Nemesis system, is kind of a cool way that death has been approached or at least utilized in a gameplay sense. But I'm not the character narrative guy, so I don't really.
Yeah, that's true.
Final Fantasy
gotcha.
X has a big kind of thing towards the end.
Yeah,
that I don't need
yeah.
to really talk about because it'll spoil the entire thing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good one.
Yeah, but those I'm sure Mass Effect's probably a big one.
Yeah. The choices you make could result in characters' death. I know we were shocked to hear your Mass Effect 1 playthrough had some interesting deaths in it. That game's old now. It's Rex, and it's optional, but it's funny to see.
It makes me want to replay 1 if I ever play 2 because I feel like I should have Rex.
I think you can choose your options if you.
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to,
Do you want to reload your saber now?
Yeah, but stuff like that, and I just had a game in my head that you had gotten me to.
Sifu.
Oh, Final Fantasy VII, the original, of course. There's a famous death in that, and its effect on Cloud. No, I came up with 3. One big game, 2 indie games.
Okay.
The first one is The Last of Us, of course. Death seems to be the catalyst for both of those games. Start with a big death, and that kind of just impacts the story throughout, and how those characters grieve over that death is very different. We see Joel in The Last of Us 1 after the death of his daughter, kind of just shut down as a human being, be kind of numb to the world.
Get over it, Dad.
And just going through the motions, not caring what he does to other people, coming of kind of a shell of and granted, he's also going through an apocalyptic event, right? It's not normal society, but you could see a Joel in a society, a normal, everyday life just being shut down, right?
He had a pretty rough week.
Yeah. Just going through, it's a rough week, yeah. But he would just be going to his construction job and coming home and just not caring, just going through the motions. And then Last of Us 2 is, a big death is the driver for Ellie's whole tale, and she deals with it with anger, and
you could even argue Abby is seeking death, right? Like that's kind of her thing.
Yep. So that was the big one. Some indie games though is Spiritfarer.
Huge one.
The big one. In this game, you take the role of a character named Stella, who takes over for
Stella.
Karen.
I know.
The fairy spirits of the dead, to the afterlife, and in that game, the characters become like you're on a giant ship. They become like livable passengers who you take care of. Just not as they were dealing with the traumatization and reflecting on their life before death, but you're also feeding them and whatnot. It's a great video game.
Really was. That was I never beat it. I got close to the end.
Yeah.
87
Under Lotus Games.
87 Open Critic.
Well, with that Portal, it would be probably a good game to go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of let's say a more healthier, especially compared to The Last of Us.
Yes.
How to process death, this inevitable thing, and that kind of you have conversations in this game with Hades about death and what's the point, why were you here, what were you doing, and I think where The Last of Us is probably is examples of like the worst ways to take death, and but Spiritfarer is like a healthy way to process it, and face and deal with the choices you made while living, and how to continue moving on past the ones
celebrate
you love.
life.
Yep. And then my last game is an interesting one, and that's
NBA 2K11.
Yeah, it is What Remains of Edith Finch from Giant Sparrow, which is a very short game, about a 2-hour game that deals with a family that is considered cursed because they all die in specific ways, some pretty gruesome, but you kind of experience what led up to their deaths, and it's just an overall just amazing game, but also it's kind of a celebration of life, because you should be appreciating whatever time you have on this earth. You should be appreciating that you ever got to live at all, and I think that's a great story to be told in just a very small time period, and that's kind of like how most people should deal with death, is celebrate the time that they spent on this earth, not focusing on that they're gone. Just think about the memories they left you and the experiences they imprinted on you while they were on this earth. And I think What Remains of Edith Finch does a great job of hammering that home at the very end to kind of sum up that game after you've witnessed the death of an entire family.
And don't leave babies in bathtubs.
No.
Very important.
No. I forgot about that one. That's
always the one I
my
think of.
brain blocked that one out. Yeah, be prepared for that. But again, I think the way it's presented, especially something like that, is well done. And like I said, it's kind of a good, it wraps it up all nicely in a bow. But yeah, I think those 3 games are kind of great examples of just the different directions death as a plot point can take you. But
yeah, I mean it's a powerful thing. It's maybe the most powerful thing. I think death has the ability to
basis for most religions.
But the ability to wreak havoc on someone's life in a matter. You could be on cloud 9 one moment, and then the next you find out that one of your most loved ones is gone, and it's just like it is such a powerful thing that it's naturally incredibly hard to process and deal with in a positive and good way, but it is possible. And Nick, I obviously don't know what you're going through right now, and it's really hard to deal with, but video games, they have a way of taking us to better mental places if we allow them to. And I think the games that you kind of just listed off were good ones, especially Spiritfarer in terms of just trying to like process in a positive way. But
their interactivity really, like outside of movies, of course, have covered death all the time, but I think the interactivity of video games is kind of just puts you more into that environment than movies can. And I think when it's done well, you feel something. These games will all make you feel something, good and bad. We've talked about that with The Last of Us repeatedly. Is like some of my most memorable moments in video games is from The Last of Us, and they're not great, but they are shocking and
But what is it? I think the classic film, amazing movie, Inside Out, of course, talks about that's the whole plot towards the end, right? You can't have happiness without sadness. You can't have sadness without happiness. They're complementary of one another, and it's important to take away. But damn it! Until I decided I wanted to make a dumb Inside Out joke, I lost the thought I had before that. Oh well, such is life.
Yeah. So okay, we can move on to our final topic: video game character battle royale, the last match of round 3.
Yes. Hit us with some results, because I don't know.
So I had a brain fart and forgot to post the polls.
Oh God!
So I did post. No. I did post them earlier this week, but given that we don't need the results immediately,
good. Let it roll.
They're still there. Yeah. So go to @joystickspod. You can directly vote in Twitter on any of those, or you can just write in at betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com, and we'll register your vote. And
can I get a status update?
Sure.
Yeah.
As of this recording, Fox McCloud is winning against Richter Belmont, and Batman. That poll only has 1 vote, so that needs some more votes. Is just beating Joker by the 1. So.
It's rigged. This whole thing's rigged. Okay.
I demand a recount.
All right, folks, go and vote, because when I had to cross Kratos' name off the list today, I was like, this is wrong. This is wrong. Wrong. All right. So what do we got today, Nick?
We have Rayman taking on Clive Rossfield of Final Fantasy.
The Cinderella of the tournament, for sure.
Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, him and Crash, for sure. And then we followed it up with Sub-Zero versus Dante. So I don't know if you have one you want to go start with.
Let's do. I don't care. You just said.
Let's do Rayman versus Clive, because that is in the realm of the Kratos versus Crash fight. Because it's this absurdly powerful Clive.
All right, Nick's going to do my part. Keep going. Keep going.
A person that can embody the different icons, that you can turn into Ifrit himself.
I feel like you're bee-rabbiting me right now. It's like, I am white. I am a fucking bum.
Taking on Rayman, and again, it's hard to say how these two would battle, because they are so different. Yeah. They come from very different worlds. Rayman... of Rayman Legends comes from a very toony world. Rayman himself is very toon. He has no limbs. He's just feet, a body, hands, and a head. No limbs to speak of, which is why he beat Isaac Clarke.
Best matchup.
But can Clive overcome his toonness? Again, I'm representing Rayman, so I'm gonna say he can't. He can't. Rayman is just a great character. He's the face of Ubisoft. Ubisoft does have that stinky vibe to them, but I think, people will admit Rayman is the exception to the rule. Great video game character, a great combatant in this tournament, and he's gonna make work out of Clive. His toonness is just gonna wear out Clive, and
that's fair. Well, you had to do a little bit of gaslighting for your battle, I suppose. But I'm not going to go too hard here. But I just want to remind the audience that just because Rayman beat Isaac doesn't mean that he can just have this inherent "I don't need limbs and joints to live" thing, right? So yes, Clive has a big ass sword. Would he swipe at him and maybe miss? Sure, maybe. Could he stab him through the head? Maybe. But one of the things that Clive definitely has to his advantage in a fight against Rayman is his elemental abilities. Despite having weird detached limbs, that's not going to escape fire. That's not going to escape lightning. That's not going to escape Ifrit Risen, whatever the transformation that he does into Ifrit. So, it's one of those. I don't think we need to dissect it, dive into the whys. We just watched Clive fight Leviathan, a flying serpent. If he can fight a flying serpent and Titan and Bahamut, I think Rayman will be fine. Yes, he's a toon, but we're not fighting by toon rules. So.
You know what he's going to do?
What's he gonna do?
Rayman's going to stick his thumb in his mouth and just blow really hard, and he's going to get even larger and larger and larger than the Leviathan. And then he's going to, then he's just going to step on Ifrit. He's just going to go bloop.
So, okay. I'm going to poke you with my sword, though.
Let out all that air.
Yeah, that is definitely a tactic he would try, though. Rayman would definitely try to maybe confuse Clive. Clive is very serious all the time. I don't think he knows how to laugh, so maybe he would just stun him with confusion. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
But
definitely up there as one of our more weirder matchups. So
yeah, but I think Clive takes this one. Sure, Rayman can be the face of Ubisoft. He can be a great character, but this is a fighting tournament. Crash voters, this is a fighting tournament. I got nothing else.
All right,
cool.
Let's move on.
All right,
Sub-Zero versus Dante. Where are you going to take this?
Well, so.
A little more 1-to-1.
Yeah, this is more of we need to lay out the fighting mechanics here. We need to lay out how these two combatants are going to go at it. So Dante, of course, of Devil May Cry, he is a half human, half demon. His father, Sparta, one of the most powerful demons of all time. He's able to channel that energy to the demonic energy for various purposes, whether he wants to put that energy through his weapons, through his guns, into a motorcycle to make it ride faster. He's able to manipulate lots and lots of things with his demonic energy. So obviously what I think Sub-Zero is going to have to do, what he's going to try to do, because he's Sub-Zero, he's going to try and freeze him. Makes sense. I would too if I was Sub-Zero. Unfortunately, with the demonic energy, he's able to heat his body up to not have to worry about any of that ice should he get stuck. So naturally, he's going to be able to deal with that.
Okay. Well,
yeah. Well, the counter.
Sub-Zero's main antagonist is Scorpion, who, as we know, as he's removed his mask, is not of this world either. There's a skeleton in there that breathes fire and whatnot. So, I think Sub-Zero has dealt with characters like this before, and Sub-Zero or Scorpion can also be frozen. So
we're talking about a minion of hell versus the Prince of Darkness. That's kind of the level, right? Sub-Zero is a skeleton. These are the lowest form of hell minions. Dante is half demon. Demon implies, especially if he goes into his devil trigger mode. That's no henchman. That's no minion. That's a full blown fire breathing demon. But Dante's also got crazy.
I mean, Sub-Zero's dealt with bestialities.
Bestialities. Yep. No, you're right, Nick. But
so transformations or nothing.
Let's not pretend though that just because Sub-Zero has dealt with similar combatants, that Dante has also not dealt with similar combatants up to a crazy degree, right? Crazy degree. He's got a crazy amount of swords. He's got ebony and ivory, infinite ammo. He fought his brother Virgil for a month straight with no food or sleep. So obviously he's in it to win it. He might be cocky. He might start to play with Sub-Zero a little bit and get into some trouble because that's what he does. But he's going to come out on top because.
But what about slippery floors?
Go on. Are you talking about because he's going to ice the floor? Okay, well, he's going to course the demon energy through his feet and just melt it on impact.
I don't know. That's
what about
he
got me.
Cockiness's weakness is the thing you can't see right in front of you, right?
It's true.
Dante's so full of himself that he just, he just takes a step and whoop, slips and cracks his head open, it's over.
Yeah, cracked open's nothing compared to, or I guess that's everything compared to a sword through my gut that I can pull out. I remember that happened in the first Devil May Cry. I think I must have been 10. I was like, oh my God.
He's so cool.
How can he do that?
So cool.
But it's Agent of Hell that has the ability to transform himself. And Sub-Zero has been killed many times by guns and projectiles, so we know that's effective. So I think Dante takes this one. I think Dante is a force to be reckoned with. He's a front runner. He's honestly a front runner for this whole thing with Kratos out. So I think he moves on, and we can let the voters decide.
Yeah. I really cannot.
Oh,
predict
one more
where this
point.
will go. Okay.
Dante is so good at shooting things. He once shot a billiard ball at the right angle to hit all other billiard balls and hit all the enemies in the room. He's a monster. He's a monster when it comes to
Devil
fighting.
May Cry 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I must have played that stage so many times. But he's a fucking clown, but he's pretty good at fighting.
Yeah.
And he uses a motorcycle as a weapon. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We'll see.
I'm just now realizing, was it my turn to pick music? I hope you picked music.
I did pick music.
Oh, okay, good.
Yep.
Oh, wait, but do we have a plan for next?
It'll be results and a review of everything,
and
then we can announce our plans for round 4 and with the last 8 combatants.
Yeah. So real quick. Well, I guess we don't know who the 8 combatants are. We'll wait for next week. Yeah. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yep. All right. So that's it. That is 6 things again. We hope you enjoyed all 6 of them. But let's move on to the teases. By next week, there'll be an Xbox Indie event, April 29th. Will it be there?
Will it be there?
Will Silksong be there?
It's getting rated all across the world.
Yeah, yep. And that game has been tied to Xbox. Yep. It has the Xbox store page.
That was the last time we saw it. Was at the Xbox event.
Yep. They've
coming out a year. Everything you'll see will come out a year from now.
yeah, especially that one. Will it appear? Will it make its appearance, or is it going to wait till their big event in June? But the highest chance. Yeah, there's just so many good indie games that could come out of this. That they had Sea of Stars last year, and that was one of John and I's favorite games of last year. So it exciting.
Yeah,
I think it is an event to watch, even though we just got the Nintendo Indie Direct and the Triple I Initiative that we are getting another one.
Well, trends and shit in the industry lag behind so much that maybe this is just kind of, not that indie games have not been on fire for the past 15 years, but with budgets rising, with development times and costs, we might start to see a lot more of these indie events.
Yeah, true. And and just because there's been other events, Pal World was at the Triple I Initiative. It is showing up here as well. They already said as much. So, reason to be excited. It's end of April, May and June it's conference time.
Yeah.
So, we'll probably be hearing more about these as we go through the month of May. But that's all the teases I got for now.
I just got to decide if Eve and I are going to go on a date or not.
Yeah.
I want to go on a date with her. I don't know. I don't know. She seems like she might be high maintenance and cost a lot. But no, I want to do it if my weekend plans line up right. If I don't go, oh fuck, I got baseball, then my sisters, then if I don't have that kind of a weekend, I want to try and make it happen.
Is it
not make any
possible
promises,
GameStop story? Is that you're going to be your route to get this?
God, that just seems like extra, like a loaded visit, doesn't it? Yeah, probably. I got a couple games. To trade in, and I'm sure I have a $5 credit.
Yep.
And whatever else they want to do for me. So
yep.
Yeah, probably will be a GameStop story. Hopefully, it's not with
in and out
with a guy that looks like the weapons dude from Dave the Diver.
Try and sell your Switch finally.
Yeah. Maybe I could just go to a different one.
Or just have that serial number ready.
The problem is an OG Switch now is $20. It doesn't do anything.
Worth it.
I think it is legit $35. If
that's crazy. Because I mean, the console's still selling. Like that's
Well, and what I guess he behind the scenes is when I tried to do it. He said, "When did you buy this?" And I was like, "I don't know. First year it came out." Okay, because there was a secret SKU change that happened like a year after it released that allowed that resulted in something.
yeah.
So he's like, dependent on that. If it's first gen, 30. If it's second gen, 85. I'm like,
oh my god.
Okay.
Bud.
I was like, I don't know, but
Well, you got the funnest GameStop employee ever. on that
he's one of those. The one guy I'm thinking of. He's one of those try hard.
Yeah.
I work. I have to do. I have to do right by the organization kind of people.
Right.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be exciting if you bring Stellar Blade. I will.
I'll send you a picture of the box art, the reverse box art.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, I do like that. It's been a while since we texted the. I made a purchase that you're unsuspecting.
I did a thing.
I did the thing. I bought an Xbox Series X while I was gone.
Yeah, stupid. I'm still not mad about it. I paid $140 for that thing, but stupid. Yeah, dude, they're still selling Switches for $270.
Yeah. That's what I'm
outta
saying.
here.
It's like that.
Usually, I don't care about that kind of stuff, but that seems a little.
Well, I mean, if you want to do even more work, you can try and sell it on the market itself. So.
That seems crazy.
Yeah. All right. So let's go into the song since John didn't pick the song, but I got his back. I'm feeling
does.
Stellar Blade songs are going to come in full force pretty soon here as John gets exposed to the soundtrack in some way, if he's playing it or not. But of course, I'm going to bring Dave the Diver. I'm going to go with the song just called Diver. This is the song that plays while you're just chilling in the ocean, catching fish. It's a good vibe.
It is.
And this is by, I'm going to butcher this name as in show tradition, Jukio Kallio, who he's done Fall Guys, Pixel Junk Monsters, Nuclear Throne. He's got a great
He's Finnish.
great body of music. So
He's got some sweet. He's got the Kojima. Dude, look up a picture of this guy.
yeah, I've seen him.
He's got the Kojima glasses.
So yeah, he's been doing the Fall Guys soundtrack this whole time, which is interesting.
I've played Minute and I've played Nuclear Throne.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of this guy's music.
Yeah. So yeah, and Dave Diver has multiple artists doing the soundtrack, but he did this song. So
Sometimes I'm just getting curious about this guy. He says he's Finnish, but he was born in Japan. Now that I look at him, he might be mixed, and yeah, that's cool.
yeah. So enjoy the song, enjoy the chill vibes it brings you, and hopefully it inspires you, along with my glowing impressions, to get you to play Dave the Divers. Please send that game more love.
Yes.
As much deserved.
Yeah, so that so that Mint Rocket gets the idea they need to make another one of those and not whatever they're making now.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is like third-person zombie bullshit.
Yep.
It's probably fine. I digress.
All right. So again, we thank you for listening. We love you. Again, review us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. That helps a lot with getting us more exposure. We appreciate you, even if you don't review. We love you.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Appreciate life. Take care of yourself.
And no.
And we will be back, of course, next week with up to another 6 things. So stay tuned. Bye, guys.
Latest.